وبركاته.
We have our brothers and sisters from this past Friday, and we would like to discuss. I mean, I can leave it to them if they have any issue to discuss or any questions. Some of them actually attend Shirley Gate. I think Brother Zahid. Others maybe they never maybe heard you talking. So I would like to discuss the mission-oriented Muslim or mission-oriented community. What's the setup of that? If everybody agrees, let us just discuss that.
Are they coming? Are they?
Inshallah.
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I mean, this is, of course, it's like a huge topic. And the starting point has always been comparison between Muslims nowadays and what happened in the early days of Islam. This is a religion that was revealed to in the worst conditions that you can imagine, very unfavorable conditions. A small number of Bedouins who were illiterate, poor, small in numbers, fighting each other in the middle of nowhere. Nobody is even paying attention to their existence in the world. They were very marginal. And this is a religion that takes those people and turns them into a movement of change, actually the greatest movement of change in history, the most successful by all standards. And people who changed the world and changed the course of history in the span of one generation. Now, we are claiming that it is the same religion that is nowadays embraced by more than 1.5 billion, who are largely irrelevant in this world. I mean, they're watching their brothers and sisters butchered and massacred in Gaza, and they can do nothing about it. Very helpless. Level of weakness that is really striking them. So I don't think anybody can accept that this is the same religion. At least that's my understanding. We need to find out that even though on the surface they look the same, we pray the same, we have the same beliefs, but that's not, the results are very different. The people who changed the world, they were less than the number of people who pray in one Jumu'ah, in one masjid in Northern Virginia. Can you imagine that? We're not talking about 3 Jumu'ah, we're not talking about Adams and all the satellites. We're talking about one masjid, one Jumu'ah, those 300 or 400 or whatever people. That's the number of people who changed this world. So we really have to question to revisit our understanding and our commitment to this religion, because we are not getting the results. And if you also think about it, that in the last few decades, a lot of Muslims become practicing. In the 60s and 70s, in a number of Muslim countries, the mosques were deserted and abandoned. Only very old people. And then we had that wave of mosques being built and filled with people, and halaqa and activities and literatures in forms of books and tapes, cassette in the beginning, and then videos, and then CDs, and then websites, and then YouTube channels, and the satellite channels, and then all of these are teaching Islam and Quran, etc. Nothing is happening. Muslim world is still in a dire situation. So all of this led, at least me personally, to think that we really need to rediscover our religion, the original Islam. And if you think about it, that the key element that is missing is that this religion was presented from the beginning as a life mission, and that's how the companions have embraced it. Not as a checklist of do's and don'ts, not as rituals. People, 13 years in Mecca, there was no fiqh whatsoever. There was no rituals, no sha'air. All of this came later in Medina, including Ramadan, including zakat, including even the pillars, including alcohol was forbidden in Medina. So what we think of it today as Islam and define as Islam, all of this came in Medina. So what was Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam doing in Mecca? He was presenting and asking this full commitment to do the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to fulfill his purpose, to do whatever it takes. And that's what was in the mind of the companions when they come to declare Shahada. They knew that they knew that they're making a big commitment, that this is big transformation in their lives, that from now on, they're going to be people who are on a mission, people who are living for a cause, people who are living for Allah, not for themselves anymore. And they're pledging to do whatever it takes to be wherever they need to be, and to do whatever it takes, even putting their lives on the line for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the pledge and the commitment that is not there today. Today we present Islam as a short list of things to do and things to avoid, that you can add them to your life without having to go through any major transformation. That's at the individual level. And those mission-driven individuals, or individuals who embraced Islam as a life mission, and basically they understood from day one that their role is similar to the role of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the best way to illustrate this is the fact that when someone comes to Medina and embraces Islam, stays for a couple of days, get the full picture, big picture, and then go back to their tribes to do the job of the Prophet ﷺ in their tribes. So they knew from day one that this mission is not for Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He was sent just to show us the way, but this is the mission for every believer after him, so that to do the job of the prophets. Before Muhammad ﷺ, there used to be a prophet sent to his people. Now there is no prophet. Followers of Muhammad ﷺ should be the messengers or the emissary to their people, do the same job of da'wah and islah, and being the role model, embodying the teachings of Islam, being a mercy to the people around you, and do the job of the Prophet, which is to teach and mentor people, يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. And that mission can be encapsulated or summarized in 2 or 3 main components. It's, of course, it springs out of Tawheed, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of gratitude, out of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that makes you very motivated to serve him and to do your utmost fi sabilillah. And that translates into work on 2 main fronts. One, working on yourself to be the best version of yourself. That's what we call tazkiyah. And 2 is to maximize your contribution to the greater good, to make this world a better place, to fulfill the purposes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the purpose of Allah is for justice to prevail. Then it becomes your job to advocate just causes. the purpose of Allah is for peace to prevail on earth, then it becomes part of your job to advance that. Allah is in no need for our efforts, but He gave us that honor and responsibility to do that job, to do His work. So this essence of Islam, the fact that it is a mission with big goals, was lost over the centuries. And that's the reason that explained the first thing that we started with, the difference in the outcome between a religion embraced by a few dozens and making big difference in the world, and a religion or a version that is embraced by 1.5 billion and making no difference in this world. So I know it's hard to accept the fact that how come are you saying that we were wrong all this time? I mean, this is the version that was communicated to us. So it's not like we don't have to feel guilty. We just need to make the effort to rediscover the true thing, the true version of Islam, which is Islam that a mission that you dedicate yourself and your life to it, that you pledge to Allah to spare no effort, nothing, everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, you will committed for fi sabilillah. And that's the Islam that was presented by Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, take it or leave it. Nobody is forced to be Muslim, but people have to be aware when they decide to be Muslims, what they are committing to.
Dr. Suhail, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to open discussion for everybody, for everyone.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So yes, the one of our tasks was, what does mission-oriented Muslim mean to you? And so I prepared a little bit, and I'm going to refer to Surah Yusuf, alayhi salam, when he was in jail, and after the incident, and then two brothers, I believe, two cellmates had come to him to basically describe interpret their dream, their dreams, and they said to him, "Inna naraka min al-muhsinin." So, part of his mission as a prophet was to do ihsan, and even in the most difficult situation where he was in jail, he was still doing his mission and helping, the sick, the hungry, communicating with the guards to get the people in jail, basically at the time, the help that they needed. So, I mean, he could have sat being depressed in jail in his cell and not done anything, but no, he was basically doing his mission, and under even the most extreme situation. So it's day in and day out. We have to do our mission, and no matter what situation we're in, if you're mission oriented, you're gonna do your mission. You're gonna work hard to accomplish it, and it also shows another so many aspects. Unfortunately, a lot of our brothers and sisters, they read Surah Yusuf as a story, but the fact that they came to him and asked him specifically, they said, "Inna naraka min muhsinin." That also means that they saw in him leadership. because a person who's mission oriented exhibits leadership, and people tend to want to follow someone who has a goal and is mission oriented.
That's true. And we always say that what Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam did in jail tells us the best and the most effective and maybe the only effective way of da'wah, which is that you show people Islam in your action, and when people ask, you are ready to present Islam and articulate it. Without that first condition, without people noticing something special in you, especially when it comes to compassion and caring about people. So it's the role model that's key component of our mission, because there is no way of change that is more effective than by example, leading by example. So embodying the teachings of Islam, showing the beauty of this religion and the mercy and the compassion and the kindness of this religion. And it's genuine. It's not because you want something from people. Just it has to be very spontaneous and very natural. And then that makes people ready to listen to you and curious to ask. And when they ask, you should be prepared to articulate your religion in the best possible way. That's the combination. Being a role model and someone who's compassionate and caring and kind, etc. And on the other hand, being ready to articulate your religion in an effective way. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he was told, "Inna naraka min al-muhsinin," when he was in jail. We see you as someone who is a good person or pious. And then he was told the same thing when he was in charge. He was in the top leadership of the whole country. It's the same statement, which shows what does it mean, as Brother Ayman mentioned, when you are on a mission, it's very consistent. There is something that is burning inside that keeps you restless and always thinking, always looking for ways to advance your cause. Sometimes I use the metaphor of as if you are a salesperson who's working on commission. There is no income. It's only commission. So you are so eager to sell, but in this case, you are delivering a message. And that's how Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spent all the 23 years. From day one till he passed away, he did not rest. He would talk to anybody who was willing to listen. He will knock on any door, take advantage of any opportunity, like the Hajj season, go to talk to tribes, walking in the streets of Mecca and asking if someone, do you have a minute? And if they say yes, the Prophet will. But of course, this was backed by his the fact that he was really role model, and he was known to be the truthful and the honest Sadiq al-Amin even before he was commissioned as a prophet. So that's the difference between being on a mission and taking religion on the side, that I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm fine. Every now and then I may donate some of my money, or I may volunteer some of my time whenever it is convenient. That's practicing Muslim, and then maybe active Muslim. But the category that we're talking about is a mission-driven Muslim. That category, it's very rare in our community, just to say the least. It's not, we have, it's like a pyramid. We have the base, all Muslims, like for example, in this area. And then we have the practicing Muslim segment of that. And then we have the active Muslim fraction. of that. And then when you get to the point, which is the mission-driven Muslim, or the Muslim who's on a mission, again, it's a very rare. And that's the difference. The companions were all mission-driven people, and their community was a mission-driven community. It wasn't a community who just is happy that they have a mosque and they are providing some services and some activities, and then they're expanding a mosque or they're building another one and they're happy with that. It's a community who was thinking in terms of their impact and the difference that they are making in their environment. So if that community of the Prophet ﷺ was in this area, that's how they will evaluate their work. They will not be happy just because they have many masjids or many Jumu'ah. They'll be evaluating their work with the difference they made and the impact they made on the society at large.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Suhail.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Last Friday, you mentioned for the parents to pick your fight with your kids. Is this apply to our community in the politics too? You know, if we will vote for Republican or Democrat, depend on Palestine, we are wasting our time because both party, the result will be the same. I don't see any difference between both party. It's meaning we need to find another priority, because if we go toward Palestine, we sit home and we vote for nothing. It's the same. I think we need to look for our priorities. In my view, the priority, the social issue, it's for me very important.
Which issue?
Social issue. The social.
Oh, social.
Social issue, you know, education. It's for me, it's more important. And I think as Muslim, we can do something there. If we pick this issue and we vote depending on this issue, we can make a difference.
Okay, this is, again, it's another big issue. Involvement in politics. First of all, we have to understand that, again, our mission, which is about making this world a better place for Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, promoting anything that is good in societies and working against anything that is harmful or bad, cannot be done nowadays except through civic engagement. So you can safely translate Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar into civic engagement nowadays. If you are not civically engaged, you are someone who has abandoned the mission of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, because there is no other way to do it. Societies became structured now. There are institutions. You cannot just go out do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar in the street. Can't. There is city council, there is a county, there is a state government, there is federal, etc. And there are civic societies, organizations, etc. So first we need to realize that civic engagement is much bigger than politics, and politics is much bigger than election, because a lot of time we confuse all three. So civic engagement becomes meaning we remember it only when there is election. So we need to remember that to be civically engaged means that's something that you do day in, day out. That's number one. Number two, that's my opinion. I don't think we Muslims should function as a minority. I don't think we should function as a minority like other minorities who get involved in politics and in election, thinking about what they can get out of the system. This is usually what minorities think. That's not appropriate for Muslims. That's my belief. So we should not think as minority, we should behave as citizens, and we should think mainstream. Mainstream meaning when I go to the election, I want to choose who is the best for the job. It's not like who, whether this person is Muslim or not, whether this person is good for this issue or not. First of all, who is better for that particular job? If you are electing someone for the state assembly, they have nothing to do with foreign politics, international politics. So who is the best for the job? And I believe it's our religious duty to elect the best for the job. So we should come from that angle, realizing that there will be no perfect candidate, whether for you as an individual or for the community. You will never have a candidate who will agree with you on everything. So then comes this issue of priorities. What are your priorities? And you should have like either scorecard or list of priorities, and then based on that you decide. So it depends on the job and choosing the most qualified. And then when it comes to evaluating or assessing the positions of this person, of this candidate, then you should have priorities, because at the end of the day, you are going to give up on something to get something. You cannot get a candidate who will be representing the Muslim community and doing everything. Actually, even us as a community, if we debate among ourselves, we will find ourselves not in agreement on all issues. So how can you expect a candidate who's going to agree with you if we as a community, if we open the discussion on after Jumu'ah, for example, while everybody is there, we will find ourselves that we have different position on issues. So I'm for mainstream civic engagement that is consistent day in, day out. You think about what is best for the country, because what is best for the country is best for the community, and the other way around is not necessarily true. If every individual is thinking for themselves and every community think for itself, that can be at the expense of the common good. So I believe we need to be civically engaged consistently in a mainstream way, and when it comes to electing the best for the job, and as indicator for evaluation, we use what is best for what's in the best interest of the country. This is the big ship in which we are all on board, or this is the building in which we're living, but everybody has an apartment or room. But at the end of the day, what is good for the whole building is good for every apartment. The opposite is not necessarily true. So that should be our attitude when it comes to election and voting. And we don't need to vote in block. And as you mentioned, if you follow the foreign policy, and there is hardly any difference among the two major parties. And if you find yourself, first of all, vote for candidate, not for parties. We should never allow ourselves to be taken for granted by any party. We're going to take it one election at a time, and then vote for candidates, not for parties. As I mentioned, if you take the foreign policy as a decisive factor, then you may end up thinking, or you may start thinking about protest vote, which is to go and vote for a third candidate, because there isn't major difference between the two parties when it comes to Palestine in particular and foreign policy in general. These decisions are made by a number of institutions, the National Security Council, CIA, State Department, and all of these are full with the career officers, not partisan. They don't change even from one party to another.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah, that's why I was mentioned about the importance of educating our community about organizing and activism, because it's ongoing. When you think about oriented Muslim, this is the way it should be all of us as Muslim community. If we are really mission oriented, then the mission does not stop in one point, as you mentioned, as all of you mentioned. The mission is ongoing thing. Yeah, every day you wake up in the morning, the mission is the same, and you're going to take any opportunity to achieve that mission. Yeah, if we start thinking about political parties, and that's what actually draw our countries down back home. Yeah, because political parties is people just fighting for their own agenda instead of fighting for what is right for the the entire ummah, or the entire people who living in that country. So if we're thinking about mission oriented, organizing and activism is something that every one of us should know. Yeah, starting, as I said, starting from being active in your own neighborhood, your schools, your public schools, whatever your children attend, your workplace, every place you live in. You have to be involved all the time. So about political parties, we should be non-partisan. The reason is we should be holding accountable everyone who's in the in the office. Yeah, meaning that I don't care what is your party, how you got to the office. You're here to serve the public. The only way for us to hold those people accountable, the people in the office, is for us to be organized and active. Yeah, because if we want to create a balance of power, then we as people should exercise our power, which is not only election. Election is one of the power we hold. But after election, we have to hold those people in power accountable for their position. So meaning that when we're always active, we have, organized, and we talk about the issue, what is affecting us as a community. We will be surprised when we talk to other people from other religions, and we will be surprised that they share the same concerns as us. Many people on this earth share the same concerns about us. We share concerns about justice and equality. We share concerns about good education, good healthcare system. We all share these main things human being care about. So if we stop thinking as you doctors mentioned, as minority, because Muslim are not anymore minority. I keep saying that every time. We're not minority. But even if we were minority, we should think about Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, thinking about making it better for everyone. That's Islam. That's the idea of Islam. Idea of Islam is the justice. Yeah, we have to bring justice for everyone. So if we stop thinking about ourselves as a victim, so thinking about ourselves as we are different and we want different things, and we're the one who should be taken care of all the time, and we start thinking about we're true Muslim, we're mission oriented, we have a mission the day we're born, and we accepted Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you are the best ummah, that you were telling people to do good and you were forbidding people from doing bad. If we have that, this is the mission oriented. If we have a logo, this should be our logo. Yeah. So every time we take that opportunity to do good and to prevent bad from happening, and to support people on doing good and prevent people from doing bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I heard somebody else talking. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying about political parties and people fighting and people saying, and I see the failing on the election happening last time. Some of our leaders failed. We were talking like us who were being organized for a long time, grassroots organizing, telling them that it's very dangerous to be loyal to one group and the other, one political party and the other. It's very dangerous because everybody is fighting for their own agenda. Yeah. We should be non-partisan, keep that, and we should hold those people accountable after the election, saying that if you don't do what you promised to do, then next time don't count on us, we'll elect you. And we also hold you accountable that if you don't do, we're going to pressure you, we're going to organize, and we're going to showing up there, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. This is the only one those people in the office understand. That's what lobbies do. Yeah, they pressure, they're organized, and they pressure those politicians. They don't only just give them money, but they also pressure them to do their agenda. Yeah. So we have to think of how these things work and how the political game working, and we have to play the good way, which is what bringing balance, the power balance, which is the people have the same power as the people in the office, the grassroots people. And the only way for us to have that grassroots people power is to be organized and active. every day until we die.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, it says, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس, that you were sent to serve people, to lead, to guide and serve. You can't be thinking of your own self-interest. That's why I said we should never think as a minority, and definitely not as a victimized minority. And for the partisan thing, we have a big opportunity in this country because those of you who are familiar with the European system, you know that the party in Europe, most European countries, has much bigger authority on their members. Over here, even though the candidate can be Democrat or Republican, but they still have a lot of margin of freedom to take. Sometimes they will take stand against their party. That's possible here. It's unheard of in many countries in the world because party will vote as a bloc. So it's not, these parties here, they are more of like coalition. They are not centralized. And that gives us an opportunity to vote for candidates, not for parties. And then, as you said, to hold the candidate, whoever we vote for, to hold them accountable, because we know that they have a room to of freedom to take a stand, and they cannot come and say, well, I was forced because my party went this way. We know candidates, there are Democrats in the South who are more Republican than Republican in the North. So it's a whole spectrum. It's not like polarized completely. The Democrat, they are central and they are liberal, and the Republican, they're also people are very far to the right and people who are more moderate. So you should take advantage of that and focus on candidate and focus on local politics. That's what matters. We have it upside down. Our focus goes, we focus on presidential election, and that's the least important. That's where first of all, we don't make big difference, except maybe in some exceptions, like, for example, this upcoming election, if a state like Michigan, where there is a large Muslim community, then swing state. But in general, we are not decisive when it comes to the presidential election. And then number two, as I mentioned, this is a country that is run by institutions, not by one individual. So the big difference you can make is in the local election and state election. That's where the numbers, a lot of time, elections are decided by a small number of people. So that gives you an opportunity to make a difference. And these people can affect your education and your life and transportation and etc. more than definitely more than the president, but even maybe more even than members of Congress. So, and
they will elect, and also they will affect your national decisions because they will represent you in DC.
Yeah,
you focus on in your local. The local, if we think everybody, subhanallah, لا يغير الله ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. The Quran gave us always the answer. Allah does not change the status of people until they change the status within themselves. Meaning, when you start changing yourself locally, the effect will be nationally. Every one of us locally in their local state start organizing, start focusing in their local rules and regulation, and they change it to better, and the community become better, education become better, healthcare become better, equality, equity, and justice for everyone. Then the people who represent us in DC and represent those people in DC, all the states, they're going to have the same decision. They're going to carry on. They're going to take the same agenda with them to DC. Then we're going to have the effect nationally. That's how we should think.
Yeah, and by the way, the election of members of Congress can be considered a local election because it goes by district.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So once you go to the Senate, when it becomes by state, decided by state or presidential, that's where the our impact will be less and less. But members of Congress, they represent district, And district is, you can call it local election.
Are there any comments from the new guests that we have this week, as far as mission-oriented Muslim and the discussion on politics or voting that we just had?
I mean, if there is no questions, I would suggest if we can talk about what's the best understanding of Islam, and because in the beginning, I believe Dr. Suhail, you talked about how our understanding changed, or in the beginning, transformation happened to the people around in Mecca and Medina and became the message carrier. They were very successful and were very, I would say, transformational. They changed the whole world. Now, things happened during history that affected our understanding of Islam. Now, the Maqasid approach, and based on Tawheed and changing ourselves and changing the world based on the understanding of Maqasid, if we can talk about it.
Yeah, I'd like to, I mean, if you do this exercise, if you ask a group of Muslims to define Islam for you, you will be amazed that to get very different answers, and some people may not even find a lot to say. And a lot of time we go and start define Islam by submission to Allah, or a way of life. You need to pray and fast Ramadan, and if you are drinking, you need to stop drinking. That's not how we present. And I'd like to define Islam as a commitment to or to dedicate your life to understand and fulfill the purpose of Allah in pursuit of the Ridwanullah. Basically, you become a Muslim. Basically, you're pledged to say that from now on, I will do everything I can. I will do whatever it takes to understand the purpose of Allah, the divine purpose, and fulfill it to the best of my ability. What is it that Allah wants to happen on earth? And I will do everything to make it happen. Spare no effort. Because when you read the Quran, that's the meaning. The Quran keeps praising those jahadu fi sabilillah bi amwalihim anfusihim. Unfortunately, this word of jihad became associated with fighting, and then violence, and then terrorism, and that has nothing to do with it. The word jihad in Quran and in Islam is doing your utmost fi sabilillah. If you can afford to put 2 hours fi sabilillah, don't put 1 hour and a half. That's jihad. If you can afford to give 1,000, don't give 900. Push your limits. It's like students who are studying, and they are exhausted, they are about falling asleep, and still they are studying. That's jihad. Jihad, it's striving, doing your utmost, or pushing your limits. So that's Quran defines the true Muslims like this. In the end of Surah Al-Hujurat, there is a verse that I want really recommend that everybody study it and master it and memorize it, because it has a definition. Innama al-mu'minun. I mean, exclusive definition of the believers. Innama al-mu'minun alladhina amanu billahi wa rasulihi thumma lam yartabu. وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله أولئك هم الصادقون. إنما المؤمنون, the exclusive definition of believers, are the one who believe believe in Allah and His Messenger, and their belief reached the level of certainty, يقين, ثم لم يرتابوا. There is no doubt whatsoever left in their minds. And that certainty translates into doing their utmost في سبيل الله. وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم. What does it mean, جاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم? I mean, what is more, if you commit your money and even yourself for something, that's meaning you're doing everything. It's another way to say they spared nothing. وجاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم. And then the verse concludes by saying, these are the true ones. These are the true believers. أولئك هم الصادقون. Because before that, it talked about another version of Islam. That's the version that we exist today. قالت العرب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. The belief that stops at the level of acceptance. Yes, we accept that there is Allah, we accept there is a hereafter, but it did not reach the level of certainty to translate into sparing no efforts. So this is what we need to rediscover, this kind of commitment that basically sparing no, defining Islam as you pledge when you declare Shahada. That's what the companions had in mind. Declare Shahada, you're pledging to say, from now on, I'm pledging my life and myself to do the work of Allah, whatever it takes. Whatever Allah is expecting me to be, I'm going to be there. Whatever Allah expects me to do, I'm going to do it. Whatever Allah has given me, I'm going to commit it. في سبيل الله. إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة. Allah is offering the deal to buy from you what He has already given you. Themselves and their souls and their money, and in return they will have heaven and the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what we need to rediscover, that definition of Islam, which is that in order for Allah to be pleased with you, you have to do everything you do, your utmost, to fulfill His purpose. That connection, that link. Ridwanullah, Muradullah. In order for Allah to be pleased with you, then you have to do everything you can, first to understand, and then to fulfill the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the meaning of being abd of Allah's servant and being Khalifa of Allah. It's Allah is the owner and you are the manager. I want to understand what the owner wants, and they will do it to the best of my ability. So that's the definition that is needed, because even defining Islam as a way of life, I feel that it is short, because both defining Islam as submission to Allah and defining Islam as a way of life, they may indicate that you can be a good Muslim even if you are passive, because you are submitting, you are applying Islam in your life, you don't do haram, you are praying, you're fasting, so you are adopting Islam as a way of life. No, Islam is a life mission. It is a way of life, it is submission, but it is more than that. And the way it was presented, it's the other way around. It was presented as a life mission with maqasid, with those ultimate goals and purposes. And then sha'air or rituals were prescribed, and fiqh was prescribed, so that you can stay focused on that mission, because the sha'air, the rituals, are an expression of your belief in Allah and your love of Allah, and they also strengthen your iman. And then the fiqh, staying away from haram, will keep you focusing your energy and your time on your mission. Because anything that Allah has forbidden is something that is harmful for individuals and for societies. And if our mission is to make this world a better place, then the first thing is to stop or to abstain from these haram things, because they are harmful for individuals and for the society. Go and study any society and list the diseases, the social diseases. You will find all of them something that Allah has forbidden. Look at what alcohol is doing to families and traffic and accident and etc. is doing to individuals. It's something that Allah has forbidden. Anything that is causing problems to people individually and collectively, it's something that Allah has forbidden. So we need to revive, first of all, the idea of Tawheed, that it is that vibrant relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is based on love and gratitude, that you feel that Allah has given you so much that you want to express your gratefulness and your thankfulness to Him. And that will give you, that Tawheed is the engine, and that will drive you toward Allah, give you the motivation and the incentive to serve and to do more. And then doing more is on Tazkiyah and Islah. Tazkiyah is working on yourself to be the best version of yourself. That's a lifelong task. Day in, day out, you are working on your knowledge, on your iman, on your character, on your akhlaq, on your skills, on your health, trying to be all you can be. That's what will make Allah pleased with you. Allah wants you to realize all the potential that He has given you. On the other track is thinking about what can I do more fi sabilillah. That's what you should be thinking when you wake up, and that's what you should holding yourself accountable when you go to sleep. When you wake up, think about in what way I can be better, I can learn something new, and I can be a better person. In what way I can contribute more to advance the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You go to sleep, when you go to sleep, you hold yourself accountable. In what way did I improve today? Did I learn something new? Did I implement something new that I learned that will make me a better person? And what was my contribution today compared to yesterday, or compared, am I consistent? Am I pushing my limits or not? The mission of Islam, if we present Islam as a mission and focus on the maqasid, or the ultimate purposes, they are universal values. Nobody can disagree with those. We turned Islam into like a sectarian. We turned into minority and sect, because we were focusing on what makes us different, not on the mission of Islam is universal. The purpose of Allah on earth, they are universal. Maybe one day we can dedicate a whole session for them, but I listed, after studying and thinking and reading and etc., I came up with that Islam came to achieve 7 purposes, and I can bring the evidence for those. The ultimate purpose of Islam is justice, and that's a verse in Quran, verse in Surah Hadid, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. That we sent our messengers and revelations so that justice prevail. It cannot be more explicit than this, that everything was sent so that justice prevailed. So that's the ultimate purpose of Islam, is for justice, and justice not for Muslims, justice for all to prevail. 1. Number 2, freedom. Allah created people free. Nobody should enslave them. Nobody should oppress them. Freedom, freedom of conscience, freedom of expression, freedom of organizing, freedom, liberty, freedom. 2. Number 3, human dignity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created dignified human being. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Not only Muslims. So when you see someone sleeping on the street in the winter, that's an insult for the human dignity. That's not something that we should accept as normal. People should have that minimum dignified life should be ensured for people. Number 4, and that's not in order, peace and security, 4 and 5. وَإِنْ جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, my mission will be, when my mission will be completed, people will travel across the Arabian Peninsula fearing nobody, fearing nothing. لا يخشى إلا الله والذئب على غنمه. والله لا يتمن الله هذا الأمر. This mission will be, when this mission will be accomplished, when or until a person, at that time, that was really unthinkable because of all those, what you call them, thugs, and it's unthinkable that you cross the Arabian Peninsula fearing nothing or fearing nobody. So peace and security, and then virtue, fadila, and finally prosperity or development. هو الذي أنشأكم في الأرض من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. Allah settled you on this earth to develop it. So prosperity, development, you call it tanmiya, what do you call rafahiyya, izdihar, all of the above, a'mar. So these purposes, if we focus on those, and then wherever we are as Muslims, individuals or communities, try to turn this into a platform, turn these ultimate purposes, divine purposes, into an agenda and a civic agenda, and advocate it, we will find a lot of people agree with us on all or most of these purposes and goals.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Thank you so much for the reminder. I feel like this, what's happening now, the war in Gaza and the attacks and, you know, the silencing that we are facing as Muslims is another kind of reminder to what you're saying. We need to really rethink of our mission and work on that prosperity, like how we can excel, because like if we are down, nobody cares about us, and we need to like to show that we are capable, that we have the strength, that and we can't do this. We can't be seen. We can't be influenced. We can't have the influence if we remain being, you know, seeing ourselves as victims. So yeah, thank you. Maybe you can shed more light on that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mentioned that what's going on in Gaza shows the weakness. People have to confront the reality that it's happening because of weakness, and then they need to find out why we became so weak and so irrelevant, that almost everything that the only thing that we were able to do with all the mobilization is some slight change in the political discourse, not on the policies. That the political discourse in the Biden administration changed slightly over the last several weeks, but in terms of policy, nothing has changed. That's because you get what you pay for. If your activism is seasonal, if your activism is elitist, if it is not grassroots, if you don't have very strong coalitions, then that's all what you can get. Lip service. Maybe, hopefully, this can make people revisit this type of activism, that this shallow activism that is done by Muslim organizations and is going to lead nowhere. You can have press conferences, you can have press release, you can have a couple of demonstrations, but that's not what changed policies. So that's at least for us here. And of course, for the Muslim world, people have to realize that they are living in countries that are dependent, indirectly occupied, in countries that are very backward in this, and they have major transformation to make it happen, to turn into a fully sovereign and independent country, to have a solid economy, to have, to improve their ranking. The ranking of Muslim countries in almost every indicators is really very embarrassing. Whether it is transparency, whether it is competition, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare, it is very embarrassing. I mean, if you get to research or scientific research, it's more than embarrassing. So people have to realize that what happened over the centuries cannot be fixed by emotional reaction that does not last. You can be angry, you can be emotional, you can demonstrate, you can protest, but that's not what will change conditions. We come back to the question that was raised like century ago, why Muslim lagged behind while other nations have advanced. And then you can add to it, what can we do to bridge that gap and to make this big jump from where we are to where we are supposed to be, we should be, and we can be, because those who made that big jump, they don't have anything that Muslims do not have. So there is no reason why any Muslim country is lagging behind. We have seen since the 60s, we have seen South Korea, we have seen Singapore, we have seen China. It was one of the poorest countries in the world until the 80s. Hundreds of millions of Chinese were immersed in poverty. We have seen India, we have seen Brazil, we have seen, number of countries, they were not in better position than many Muslim countries, and now there is a huge difference. And people have to study these, why it happened with those countries, why it is not happening with Muslim countries. And again, study not for the sake of studying, but study to come to the diagnosis, and then to come to the solution and start implement that solution, no matter how tough it is and how long it takes, because nothing comes cheap in this world. And that's one of our major problems. We want big things to happen, but we are not ready to pay the price for them. And we want them to happen quickly and with little, with a small price. And that's impossible.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Dr. Ghannouchi, going back to the mission-oriented Muslim, I thought about, one part of it is, yes, to accept your mission and to try to implement the 7 objectives that you mentioned that we as Muslims have, or we have many objectives, right? And then I thought about, all right, you also have to plan part of your life around this mission, or have it plan your life so that you could carry out your mission. For example, in many Muslim countries, you have parents that have 5 or more children, right? And mashallah, big families. Now, the bigger the family, the more time that takes away, from the parents having free time to carry the mission. So what I'm thinking is, at least for the next generation, we need to prepare them that, okay, you don't really have to have a big family because, you have this mission that you need to fulfill, and you really will not be able to fulfill it correctly or fully if you have basically a big family. So what I'm trying to say is that we should prepare the next generation also for the meeting the mission, and by setting them up for success.
Can
Actually,
I say something
yeah.
before you, Dr. Anish? I actually totally disagree with you, brother. I have 6 children. I'm alone in this country. I'm a migrant. I study college while I'm having kids. I raised them totally alone. Even when my husband was always traveling, I was alone. But still, I managed to be active in their school. I still managed to be active in my community. Actually, I was taking them with me. That's how we prepare the next generation, by being example, by us being the example, practical example for them. We don't need to sit down and give them lectures. In order for us to raise children, we have to actually be practical Muslim. Practice our Islam in front of them. Take them with us to the mosque. Take them with us to activism. They go with me to protest. They go with me to meetings since they were still babies. They now understand more than many other adult Muslims because they raise in that environment. We need to change ourselves as Muslim. Get out of that idea that we're always busy, we have more than anybody else, because we're not. I see many of us as Muslims wasting their time sitting in coffee shops, talking nonsense about things that they cannot change, instead of doing the practical way of changing these things, instead of wasting their time shopping, sitting, drinking tea, endless time, wasting time on doing nothing but talking and talking and talking. So we have to start, first of all, changing ourselves as an adults, and then start acting as a practicing Muslim for sure. Meaning, we stop concerning only about ourselves and thinking about everybody else. Going outside, seeing these homeless people, why we have this many homeless people in the community. When you become an active member and you go to your mosque, start getting involved in your local masjid. Actually, the masajid that have civic engagement, the masajid that have interfaith, the masajid that have organizing, and you go be active with them and bring that organizing to your masjid and bring your children to that. Talk to them about what happened to school. Go and be active in your children's school. Having children does not prevent you, actually makes you more active, because that's how you can be involved in other aspects of the community through your children. But we, as Muslims, subhanAllah, I work as a behavioral therapist, and I go to many people in their homes to provide intensive in-home therapy. And I see what went wrong in our, community. A lot of people sit down and spend many, many hours in the front of the TV watching whatever shows and feeling sorry about, even if it's the Islamic show, about what we did in the past. They don't think about what we can do now, yeah? Or watching even nonsense shows that's actually destroying us, yeah, instead of building us. So we have to look in ourselves as adult Muslim and see what went wrong with us. Preparing the next generation is starting with us. We are the one who are raising this generation. How are we going to prepare them? Not by giving them lectures, by actually being that active Muslim we want them to be. I want to teach my child to seek education, I have to be a person who's seeking education. If I want to teach my child to be an active member of the community, I have to be an active member of the community. If I want to teach my child honesty, I'm the one who have to be honest first, yeah? Everything starts with me as an adult. So we have to look in the mirror and start looking at ourselves and change ourselves. And we have to stop making these excuses to ourselves, because all what I hear from our community is excuses upon excuses. And I always say to everybody, whatever you're going to tell me, I had it all. I went through it all, but I managed to be active. So I just want to get it out of my chest.
It's not.
Sister,
No.
you make a good point. Now, I think my point is also still valid. I think there should be like a a happy medium. And we are where we have to be realistic. If we have like 5 or more children, that does take time away from us and our schedule to be involved in a community. I mean, I commend your effort of taking your children to the meetings. I mean, that's yes, leading by example. I can tell you from my experience, I have an aunt who, mashallah, has 12 children, 7 boys and 5 girls. And Brother Muhammad knows her, she's, in our town in Palestine. Now, 12 children, I can, say, mashallah, okay, good. But at the same time, she barely had any time to get involved with 12 children. And that was overseas. She had the support of her mother-in-law. Here in the U.S., it's much harder. So that's why I made the comparison of having, 5 or 6 children. It does make it harder. I mean, I commend you for your effort, but at the same time, um, it does take away time. And there's, as far as raising children, you know, um, you have really less time for each additional. The bigger the family, the less time you have for the other children. So, I see it both ways, honestly.
Actually, you don't have to choose. First of all, the case of Sister Thuraya is that's not the norm. That's an exception. I mean, it's great that you made it and you succeeded, but believe me, won't be the case for everybody. It's a challenge to raise a child, and it's not even put aside the mission, even if with no consideration to mission, is raising children successfully. It's a big responsibility and big job, and people have to gauge it so that they know how much they can take. It's not about having children without knowing that you really have support system and you have foundation that the family can manage to raise another child successfully before you add to or you expand the family. So it's a general theme. It has to do with parenting, that people have to be careful, because a lot of Muslim parents, they still think that parenting meaning feeding, buying stuff to children, and toys and whatever they want. And if I'm capable of doing that, then why not having more and more children? That's not the case. Parenting is a big job. It's instilling values, instilling mission, instilling shaping the mind of that individual, and it's going to require a lot of attention and a lot. So people have to gauge how much they can do, but it should not be one size fits all. Some people can do 3 children successfully. Some people, they may do only 2. Some people can do 4. So people have to gauge, but they should take that decision very seriously. It's not, that's number one. Number two, if we take the mission into consideration, that should be your guiding priority for all your decisions. Someone who's on a mission will evaluate everything depending on whether it's going to serve my mission, makes it easy for me to serve it, or makes it harder. It becomes what they call guiding priority. Guiding priority meaning it's the decisive factor. I got the job in the middle of nowhere. It pays a lot of money, but that's going to affect my ability to fulfill my mission. I'm not going to take it. That's to that point. So where you live, what kind of job you take, you have 2 options. Working, for example, for corporate America, some type of jobs, they leave you no time whatsoever. And then you are offered another job that has maybe you make less money, but gives you more flexibility. If you are someone who's on a mission, you're probably going to opt for the second one, unless you have very valid reason for financial needs or etc. So it's a whole way of thinking that it becomes whom you marry. That makes a big difference. You're not going to marry a person who is going to hold you back, someone who does not share your mission. No matter how much you are attracted to that person, you will decide that's not going to work. Where you live, what job you take, all of these major decisions, not only children, all major decisions in life should be guided by whatever facilitates your mission and makes it easier for you to fulfill it. That's yes. Whatever makes it harder for you, distract you, that's a no. So that's so, and it should be taken even. Brother Ayman mentioned, and Toraya responded to this having children. No, it should be bigger than that. It should guide your decision-making process, that mission. And then for children, as I mentioned, mission or no mission, you have children, the number of children that you can raise successfully. Sometimes it's financial ability that will put a limit. And we have seen it. There is a major crisis nowadays in Egypt, for example, because people still that are poor families are having many, many children. And they have no way they can support them because education became expensive. Even if they say it is free, but it's only on paper, because you still need to have tutoring for your children and to buy them stuff, etc. So if you cannot afford it, whether it is financially or you are someone who's very busy and you have no time for your children, then you have to take that into consideration. And we should forget about I'm taking care of my children because I'm offering or providing for them everything they need. No, that's not taking care of your children. That's not parenting. That's feeding and rearing, they call it, ri'aya, not tarbiyah. What you need is to build a child, build their personality, build their value system. They work, they abide, or they live by, instill the mission of Islam, teach them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's not easy. No size fits all. Alhamdulillah, sister, it worked for you, but believe me, it's not, that does not, and you have the skills, you have the behavioral therapy. Not everybody has that background. I'm sure that helped you with your children. Not everybody is good in time management, because that requires very efficient time management. So I think the bottom line is everybody has to gauge their ability, use the mission as a guiding priority for every decision, and gauge their ability to raise children. If you're struggling with the first child, there is no point in having another one. If the family is not very functional, there is no point, because that family is weak. So weak foundation, you're not going to add another floor. Yeah, stop, work on that foundation first, because there is no point in building more another floor on a foundation that is very shaky. And that's, unfortunately, a lot of Muslim family, they do that. They're still struggling to find the formula. The spouses are struggling to find the formula, yet they're still having children.
I didn't say that, subhanAllah, everybody can hold like 10, 12 children. SubhanAllah, Allah said in Quran, Allah does not give you what you cannot handle, yeah? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. So even some people like take birth control and whatever, and they still, Allah end up giving them the amount of children they can handle. The thing is, SubhanAllah, Allah gives us the formula. As you mentioned, we have to choose our spouses wisely. Yeah. And we have to know who we are marrying, because that's the first decision affect having children. Having children is one of our mission as a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said, "تناسلوا تكاثروا فإني مفاخر بكم الأمم يوم القيامة." Yeah. So one of our mission as Muslim is to have children or raise them. This is itself is a mission. We don't have in our mind that's what we call investing in human being. We are so caught up in investing in land and investing in materialistic things, but not investing in human being. Raising a sane, mashallah, oriented, mission-oriented child who knows Allah, this is itself is the greatest investment any parent can do in their world. Yeah, this is itself preparing people for the future by raising them the right way. The problem we have, I was not always a behavioral therapist. I had to seek education that helped me with my mission. Every time I change, I had 3 different degrees in different things. Every time I change my degree, that depend on what I need to learn, that's fulfill my mission. So I wasn't always that person. We have to be able to learn and change ourselves. Because if we say like, oh, it is what it is, that's the way I'm raised, I'm going to raise my children. This is itself a bad statement, a bad recipe for a person to raise children or be a parent. What I'm saying is us, we have to be able to change and grow every day with our children. We have to be able to learn. We have to be able to be open. Life is difficult. Life is not easy. Yeah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always He already gave us the recipe of what a healthy family should look like. Unfortunately, many husbands, many wives, but mostly the husbands are straying away from the mission by thinking that, like you said, doctor, that they think only providing and feeding children, that's what their ultimate mission. No, when you have children, you have to invest on them time, energy, instill on them by example. I don't remember my father or my mother ever had to tell us what to do. We don't have to hear them. We see them doing it. That's how we were raised. We were seeing my father and my mother, both of them, actively engaged in the government, trying to make it better, spending their own time and money and helping people. Never my father tell us, okay, get up and read Quran. I see him read Quran. I see him praying. I see him do Qiyam al-Layl. I see him giving charity. I see my mom never lie, never backbite, never. It's by example. Raising is by example. Children sees when we do bad and then we tell them to do good. Even if we try to hide that from them, they know who we are. They're the best judge of character of us. If we want to know who we are, we have to ask our family. The best of you are the best to their family. I am the best to my family. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. If we want to know who our real character, we have to ask our wives, spouses, or husbands, and our children. Those are the ones who knows who we are. So we have to look in the mirror and see, again, I'm going to say it, what's wrong with us? What do I need to learn? If we do that self-evaluation every day, حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Before you sleep, you have to do that self-evaluation. What did I do? Like you mentioned that, Dr. Ghanouji, earlier, yeah? This is what the Prophet ﷺ said, حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. What did I do wrong? What did I do good? What do I need to do tomorrow to make it better? That's I did wrong. What do I need to do more of the things that I did good and is going to be beneficial to me, to my family, to my community? That's a mission-oriented person, that he think of himself first, because you have to take care of yourself. Everybody responsible for their own happiness, meaning taking care of their self in all the aspects, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, your relationship with Allah. And then you maintain your relationship. Once you change yourself, that affects your own family, affects your spouses, affects your children. Because if you don't change yourself, you cannot change nobody else. And when you change yourself for better, automatically people around you are going to start changing, starting from your own family. Yeah, starting from your own children. And you will have that time when you have time for yourself with Allah. We cannot handle everything. If we start counting things by pen and paper, we cannot make it. But because Allah put barakah, when you're with Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put blessing and barakah in your life, in every aspect in your life, in work, in how to pay the bills, how to raise the children, in everything. If we don't have the barakah, we cannot make it. That's the difference between true Muslims and just Muslim by name and non-Muslims. I just had to say that. Thank you.
Shukran. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. We'll leave it there, inshallah, and we'll meet next Sunday, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for attending and participating and contribution. Very lively discussion. A lot of very interesting perspectives and thoughts and ideas.
جزاكم الله خير.
جزاكم الله خير إن شاء الله.
جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.